And we got into a little bit about the history of income tax. Talked a lot about Beardsley Rumble and how the reason why income taxes are the way they are today. So before we get started, any questions on anything we talked about on Thursday?
Could you possibly send me the notes from last week?
I don't have any of the notes saved from last week.
Okay.
If you want to throw a message in the chat, the classroom chat, it'll be on the bottom right of your screen. And just ask if somebody has them, they can email them to you. That's what most students do in my classes, and it works out pretty well. Please feel free to use that. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions? All right. So we're going to get into income tax. All we're going to do today is talk about income tax because this tends to be one of the more confusing concepts behind taxation. And what we're going to do is simply learn how to calculate how much you would pay in income tax. And this is something that the reason why we're spending a full day covering this, the reason I'm going to ruin your whole day by doing math is that this is something that at some point, everybody in their life will probably pay. Most of you have probably already paid income tax already. If you haven't, you will at some point in your life. So we're going to look at how those numbers are actually calculated. And this is something that I've had to explain over and over and over again to a lot of people, and not students. I mean, a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I think I told you my dad, who's I consider to be very, very intelligent. I had to do this exact lesson that we're doing today with him when he retired at 62. So he'd worked full time from the time he was 14 to the time he was 62. And in those almost 50 years, never knew how his income tax was calculated. And that's a big thing. So he probably paid a couple $100,000 in income tax throughout his lifetime and never knew how the numbers calculated. I think that's pretty important stuff. So that's why we're going to spend the full class covering this. And the other reason is chances are you're probably not going to sit down on your own and say, all right, today I'm going to teach myself how income taxes are calculated. So now you're forced into doing it because you paid for this class. And like I said, I think this is something that's really, really important.